Funding for Schaefer-Ellis is provided by
Squarespace, the sponsor of today's video. Whether starting a new business or keeping up your growing brand, Squarespace is the all-in-one website builder to engage with your audience and let your business thrive. Alright, let's do this one more time. My name is Schaefer-Ellis, and I heckin' love Spider-Verse. What an original opinion. Anyway, now the sequel's out. Is it good? Yeah, obviously. There was never really any doubt about that. But is it better than the first? A lot of people seem to be saying so, but what's my take? I don't know, we'll get to that. Oh, and we'll also get to spoilers later. I will warn you when that discussion begins, but for now, I'll keep things spoiler-free. Cool? Cool. Holy shit, this is the best looking American animated movie of all time. The different visual styles are insane. The action is insane. It truly feels like an evolution of the first film's visuals in every conceivable way. Look at Spider-Punk. How did they do this? They didn't have to make him look like that, but they put in all that effort, and now he's gonna look that awesome forever. God, I love it when movies get delayed, and it turns out they were worth the wait. I'm in love with so many of the shots in this inhumanly good-looking film. I also think it's really well paced for what it is. At 140 minutes, this is the longest American animated film ever made. Usually, studios don't dare to let these movies go on that long because animation is expensive, and kids' attention spans are very short. But this movie earned its runtime. None of the scenes felt wasted. They portray Miles bonds with both Gwen and his parents way better than they did in the first film. And they take a while to start multiverse jumping, which is great. Plenty of time is spent on establishing Miles' new life, balancing being a normal kid and a spider guy. It was very investing even before all the crazy multiverse shenanigans. It's just a great ass movie that I did not want to end. Pretty much the entire final act, I was sitting there like, oh no. Please don't tell me this is where the cliffhanger ending comes in. Which eventually, of course, it did. This was initially conceived as a part 1 of 2 after all. Even though now, it's the second act in a Spider-Verse trilogy. Which, you know, it serves that role really well. But with that said, yeah, it's hard not to feel a little disappointed that you gotta wait 9 months to see how this ends. Because I wouldn't really say it's a complete story. It's a spectacular first half / second third of a story for sure. But the lack of conclusiveness does kinda sting. And I think it's time to get into spoilers to really explain why. Skip to this time frame to avoid them. 3, 2, 1, Peter Porkers. So, this first half / second third of the Spider-Verse story is itself split into 2 distinct halves. The first half of this movie is about stopping the Spot, both in Miles' dimension and out of it, while the second half is about opposing Miguel O'Hara and his team of spider people. Essentially, there are 2 main villains in this movie for the 2 different halves. And I like Miguel as an antagonist, but damn did the Spot surprise me. I saw the clip of Miles fighting him in the bodega, and I just kind of assumed that he would be the warm-up villain for this one scene, before Miguel took over as the main antagonist. I thought he was just a villain of the week. Whoo boy, was I wrong. And I was so pleased to be. The Spot is excellent. I love when a villain starts off pathetic and embarrassing, only to become a legit menacing threat by the end. Usually, you only see that sort of development where someone goes from a novice to a badass with hero characters, like Miles from the first movie. But doing it with a villain is so damn cool and creative. I loved everything about the Spot. Except for the fact that he disappears from the movie halfway through. Because the second half is about Miguel and the Spider Citadel. And yeah, they still need to stop the Spot, but they only talk about that. I just really wish we could have gotten more of him since he is the overarching antagonist of this 2-parter. And he just feels brushed aside for an inordinately long period of time. Anyway, before I get to some of my other complaints, gasp, yes I do have a few others, forgive me Lord for I have sinned, let me take advantage of the spoiler veil I've cast around this part of the video and talk about some cool ass shit. Donald Glover as the live-action Prowler was mind-blowing. I'm so glad he could be a part of this movie. Insomniac Spider-Man being there and labeled as such by on-screen text delighted me. It's cool that a movie can have references in it and tell a good story, cough cough. The LEGO universe was hilarious, and also incredibly fitting since this is a Lord and Miller joint. I like how that came full circle. The concept of following the canon or the entire universe breaks is really intriguing and awesome. It really makes me wonder what's gonna happen in the third film. Like, are they gonna go to the real world and fight the writers of Spider-Man comics? Probably not, but that would be pretty epic, especially after what they did to Kamala SMH. The ending really took me off guard. I mean, I knew he was in the wrong universe because I saw Universe 42 appear on the machine. I feel smart for noticing that. But I wasn't expecting Aaron Davis, nor Miles himself as the goddamn Prowler. Whoo, mama, how's he gonna get out of this predicament? Hey, did you know that Miles' roommate Genki is voiced by Peter Sohn, a director and animator for Pixar? He even voice acts as some characters like Emil in Ratatouille and the cat robot from Lightyear. He's also directing this month's Elemental. Isn't that cool? Guys, I'm gonna be real with you. I don't want to see this movie. I don't have any interest in it. Do I really have to review it? You guys, can I be excused from this one, please? Anyway, welcome back, all you non-spoiler heads. Here's a non-spoilery thing I thought was kinda lacking in the movie. It just wasn't that funny. The movie isn't telling jokes either. I just don't really think the jokes were that well timed. So many of them are sped through or really quiet, and they overlap with dialogue from other characters. In fact, that's just a problem with a lot of the action scenes in general. The things these characters are saying completely flew over my head at multiple points during the movie. Like, they didn't balance the dialogue volume well enough, and they played a lot of it way too fast and way too quiet. Hell, even in non-action scenes, this was a problem. I swear to God, I missed half of what Spider-Punk was saying, especially during his comic book introduction scene. It wasn't anything essential, I still followed the story perfectly, but I just remember how fast-paced so many scenes were in the first movie, and how I followed all of them perfectly. Like when Miles and Peter are escaping Alchemax, and Miles throws a bagel at some random loser who doesn't matter, and Peter tosses him the web shooter. That scene has a lot of snappy dialogue back and forth, but it's very easy to follow because of how clear the communication is between these characters. But with this movie, this is the first time I've actively felt like I needed subtitles in a movie theater. I can't wait for this to come out on digital so I can slow it down to 0.75 speed and catch all the jokes that clearly went over my head. I don't know, is this just a me problem? Let me know in the comments, I'm curious. Anyway, I mentioned Peter, which reminds me, that's my last big disappointment. Peter really doesn't matter much in this film. He gets one good scene with Miles, but mostly he's just along for the ride, and the only joke is that he's committing child endangerment now. Disappointing, but hey, the movie was stuffed to the brim, and Peter and Miles' relationship was the focus of the first movie, so it's understandable why you would need to scale him back a bit here. Speaking of the first movie, that's the question I gotta answer, huh? Do I think this is better than the first film? No, but that's not really much of an insult, is it? The first film is Into the Goddamn Spider-Verse, one of the best animated films I've ever seen in my life. I definitely prefer its comparatively simple story, great sense of humor, and untouchably powerful moments like the leap of faith. By contrast, the sequel has a great, but definitely more complicated and less flowing narrative, a much weaker sense of humor, and nothing that hit me quite as hard as the highs of the first movie. Don't get me wrong, I love Across the Spider-Verse. I was glued to my seat the entire time, and I never wanted it to end. The animation is unparalleled, the characters are amazing, the story is consistently engaging with tons of great surprises in store. It's a bona fide modern animation classic, much like the first film. But the first film just feels ever more so complete. Both figuratively, because it manages to balance everything that can possibly make a movie great, and literally, because it has an actual conclusion. I know a lot of people are comparing this film to Empire Strikes Back, but it feels more like a Two Towers to me. Still excellent, not a weak link in the slightest. But are there really that many people who consider the middle chapter of a continuous 3-film narrative with no breaks in between when the movies take place to be the best of the trilogy? Across the Spider-Verse is awesome, but the number one thing I thought when leaving the theater was, man, Beyond the Spider-Verse is gonna be the greatest movie of all time. I have never been more confident in any movie than I am with this trilogy's third installment. Anyway, Across the Spider-Verse gets a 9 out of 10. I really was flirting with the idea of giving it a 10 despite my issues with it, but those issues kinda compounded the more I thought about them. Still, my dumbass gave the original Spider-Verse a 9 out of 10 when I first saw it, so maybe this movie's score will go up as well, who knows. Anyway, what's next on my to-do list for this month? You know, suddenly Elemental isn't sounding so bad right now. Speaking of not sounding bad, Squarespace, the best place in the entire multiverse to build a website. Squarespace is an amazing online website builder that enables you to create beautiful websites for your business or personal hobby. Create your own online store to sell your products. Whether they be physical, digital, or service products, you better believe Squarespace has the tools you need to start selling online. Hop on in with one of their professional website templates, with designs for every category and use case. Then make it your own by customizing the design, updating content, and adding whichever features you need. Any Squarespace template can do anything you want, allowing your idea, brand, or business to stand out. And on any device, too. You can even host video content using Squarespace, organizing your video library, showing off your content on beautiful video pages, and selling access to exclusive videos with member areas. The possibilities are near limitless. Check out squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/ShapeRellis to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.